The college baseball experience on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times your entry with their new Pick 8. Sign up today with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And we are back. It is showtime here once again on the college baseball experience. What's going on, everybody? My name is Noah Bieniek, aka 77, and we're back riding solo for one last picks episode. I told you if it goes game 3, I'd be back here to dial up some of the bullpen analysis. And the analysis on the bullpen for each team, it's going to be all hands on deck. Everybody should be ready to go here for this one. So this one should be outstanding. Kind of hinted at it on Twitter. If it lives up to the billing, like I think it could. Right now, you have the number 1 overall team in the country playing against the number 3 overall team in the country, which kind of was playing like one of the best teams all season long. You've got 2 pitchers that have pitched tremendously here lately. You got full bullpens, 2 like one explosive offense, one offense that has taken advantage of everything that they've received in their way, battling all the adversity that has come to them here in the postseason. Should be an incredible game 3 that we've got laid up for us. Let's first off, let's talk about how we got here in game 3. The first game was a 9-5 9-5 finish. However, Texas A&M had this one over in the 3rd inning, and Tennessee really was never able to muster up a bulk inning or any kind of momentum until the 7th inning, and then Evan Aschenbeck came in and completely shut down the Volunteers, striking out 7 guys. He had 8 outs in the inning or in the outing. I mean, he was dominant. The changeup, specifically the off speed, the changeup, the changeup, the breaking ball were tremendous, drawing plenty of whiffs here for Aschenbeck in the late innings of game 1. The critical part of this one was that 3rd inning where Tennessee just started kicking the ball around. And Texas A&M didn't do anything too tremendous at the plate. They were just putting the ball in play. And I remember specifically a throwing error. I remember just a misplay in the infield. Just a couple of, they just booted the ball around in the 3rd inning. Texas A&M took what was given to them and built up an insurmountable lead. You look overall at the game, Tennessee had 3 errors here, but they were only out hit 13-12. Tennessee had 12 hits in this one, only scratched across 5 runs compared to A&M's 13 hits where they had 9 runs. So that game, I feel like, was a lot closer than the score indicates. And I jumped on Tennessee plus 4.5 live after I saw them just melt down in that 3rd inning, just because I felt like the lineup could build a comeback. It never really never really accumulated to anything, but we still got across on that on Twitter when I gave that out, and I bet it personally. Game 2 is interesting because not only did it happen in game 1, but game 2, Tennessee so I personally really liked this Tennessee team, and I thought I had them and thought I knew them like the back of my hand. But this team has shown more emotion, in my opinion, negatively in this series than I've seen them show this season. So in 2022, I really enjoyed watching Tennessee because one, they were so they made basically headlines every time they played. They did something on the field that would garner some attention, good or bad. And it was a great watch. One, because you didn't know how good that team was until like you were like, oh shit, this team is legit. But this year, I kind of had a really good feeling about this Tennessee team. I didn't watch inning by inning throughout SEC play, Tennessee specifically, as much as I did some other teams. Just because Tennessee's betting odds were always pretty large in comparison to other games in the SEC. They've been more emotional in this series negatively than I can remember this season. And I'm not too big of a fan of it. And you look at the first couple of innings here, Vitello's throwing some tantrums, throwing some dirt, literally. And just getting warned by umpires in the first or second inning. And you look at like the coach, just kind of the players take after the coach, and I just think the entire lineup's just pressing. They're pressing to do something, and they're putting that pressure on themselves. And they just played loose. I feel like they played looser the entire season, and now they look pretty damn tight. Um, you know, Once again, the seventh inning, they really kind of break that barrier. They get the home run from Dylan Dreiling, who, by the way, so I skipped over it in game one. Caden Kent has been tremendous in the College World Series. Didn't talk about really kind of any of the offense here for Texas A&M in game one. I'm going to go back to it real quick. This kid has been unbelievable. He's hitting like over 500 in game one. He went 3 for 5, 4 RBI. That is probably the pick. Like if we had most outstanding player betting odds, that's probably your pick for the Aggies. Where I was getting off track here with Dylan Dreiling is because he's probably the pick for Tennessee here. He hits another home run today. It was overall a 1 for 5 day, but I mean, 2 RBI. It was the game winning runs off of his bat. And then a critical insurance play offensively for Tennessee was the next inning when Cal Stark just unloaded on a hanging off speed pitch right down the middle. I mean, there's a book out on how to pitch to Stark, and he was 0 for 16 in the College World Series prior to that bomb. But good for him getting off that schneid. Offensively in this one, Jace Laviolette, great to see him actually like unload on a ball as well, over the right field bullpen here in game two. Great to see him kind of, I played the lower than on Underdog Fantasy on one of his player projections. I watched that game in game one, and I was like, you know what? He's kind of moving a bit better. And I stayed off of it in game two because of that. And he showed up, and he showed up big time. He had 2 hits, 2 walks. One of those hits was the home run in the first inning to dash some of the Yurfy and Nerfy, or to dash the Nerfy bettors out there. Before we dive into some of the bullpens, because that's specifically going to be kind of in the handicap for game two, I'm going to quick tell you about the Sports Gambling Podcast, because they are starting their fantasy football top 10s coverage here. And they did top 10 fantasy football preview series. They've started with the quarterbacks and tight ends. Those are already out. Those more episodes throughout this next week will be coming out. And as they say, it's never too early for the National Football League. Just give us one more day of college baseball, and then you can turn it over to the Sports Gambling Podcast. And also, Underdog Fantasy has their new Pick 8, which is now live. Create entries with up to 8 picks in Underdog will automatically double flex entries, so you can miss up to 2 picks and still win your entry. With more picks to make and extra ways to win, the excitement is higher than ever. And the best part is that you can win up to 325x your original amount. You can now use these specials and boosts on all flexed entries. So don't miss your chance to try it out before it's gone. Sign up today with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. So I apologize today, specifically for game 2. I am in a extended family golf league that plays every other Sunday. And today the course was terrible for data reception. So I really couldn't get anything out there. Unfortunately, I thought I was going to be able to do. So unfortunately, I wasn't really able to promote the article that I wrote, which went 0-2, total airball there. The first game 1, it was about, we came out slightly positive. We played the Yurfee, and we had Tennessee to not bat in the 9th inning, which obviously they lost. So they did bat in the 9th. We went 1-1, but the plus money helps with the Yurfee on Texas A&M scoring. So I wasn't able to do anything, unfortunately, for game 2. So I was really crossing my fingers that I'd get the chance to do this game 3 show so I could give out some picks like I normally do, and kind of make it up to you guys. Underdog Fantasy yesterday, because I think it's because Texas A&M didn't announce a starting pitcher. There was no Tennessee lineup player projections. So I could only do Drew Beam, and then I had to play A&M players. Like, you can't do 2 A&M players. You can't do 3 A&M players all by themselves. You had to include Drew Beam. So I put him in. I had the lower than strikeouts there. That one missed. The entire entry lost. I don't think any of them hit. But I don't know if much offense is going to come around here in this game either. Bullpen check real quick before we get to starting pitchers, because I think the starting pitchers are kind of obvious at this point who's going to throw. So Ryan Prager threw 81 pitches on Saturday. This is do or die. Give it all you got. There's a chance Prager comes out of the pen. Josh Stewart threw 55 on Friday. You'll probably see him. Brad Rudis only threw 2 pitches. You'll see him. Evan Aschenbeck, it was questionable whether you'd see him in game 2. Obviously, once A&M fell down, like in the 7th inning, they were not going to deploy their stopper of the year. He's going to go, and he's going to give them length here once again in game 3 as well. That's my assumption. You look at Tennessee, Stamos only threw 18 pitches, but I would not count on seeing him again. And honestly, Causey hasn't been tremendous recently either. He allowed the 4 run. Yes, a lot of the balls in play off of Causey should have been corralled and defended well, but obviously they were kicking the ball around, and there were some runs scored on Causey that I don't think, tell the true story of that outing. But, the more balls have been put in play on Causey through the last 3 starts than in recent games here. The Stamos Causey tandem has kind of not been as effective lately as it was early in the season, and we've been handicapping against that for quite some time. Kirby Cannell only threw 13 pitches here, but he appeared in game 2. Marcus Phillips came out of nowhere. Looked great. Got 2 outs. He did walk a guy to start the next inning, but he got Tennessee out of a jam and was throwing 98-mile-an-hour cutters. Like, just nuts. The depth of this pitching staff for Tennessee. Andrew Banke only threw 34 pitches. Dylan Loy only threw 22. And then in game 2, Drew Beam, you're not going to see him in game 3. I don't think he's going to come back after 1 day of rest on 77 pitches. He did say in the post gamer that he would be ready to go. I don't think that he's going to end up getting the ball. Neither do I think Aaron Combs, who was tremendous in this one. 63 pitches. He had 5 strikeouts in 4 innings, only allowed 3 hits, no runs, came in and completely shut the door on the Aggies offense. I wouldn't count on seeing Combs either in game 3. Kirby Cannell only threw 4 pitches. He allowed a hit. He'll be good for game 3. Nate Snead threw 15 pitches. That's really important for A&M to have at least gotten a look on Snead. It wasn't too much. He got 3 outs, but at least some of their hitters have seen him once now before. The big surprise here was Zane Badmaev. Badmaev got the start for Texas A&M in game 2. He was kind of the opener, the same thing as Stamos Kazi. And then Chris Cortez came in through 4.1, only allowed 2 hits, 7 strikeouts. Was the walk an issue for him? I thought it was, but I don't have it in front of me. How many did he have? It was, I think the walks kind of counted up on him a little bit. I don't have that in front of me, but that was the handicap against him in the article, at least, was that he's going to give out some free passes to a Tennessee team that has some batters with good eyes at the plate. They rank 31st in the country in walk rate, which is obviously good, but when you get down to the nitty gritty of it, Texas A&M with a really elite bullpen, you're going to see some strikeouts, even though this lineup for Tennessee hasn't done that much this season. And that was the same thing for A&M too. Drew Beam actually racked up a fair share of strikeouts of his own with 7 in 4 innings. That was a good outing for him. So Cortez threw 99 pitches. He also came out with a cramp. He was flexing his forearm, is moving around his fingers. They removed him from the game after that, but in the post game, he was answering questions, said it was a cramp. But I wouldn't expect him to come out here in game 3 after throwing the 99 pitches. Also, Cade Wilson, 41 pitches. He's not one of the top arms from that A&M pen. He did give up the 2 bombs. They've got better options that they'll throw in game 3 here. Like I mentioned, they've got Rudis, they've got the option to go to Prager, and they've got Ashton Beck, and they've got Josh Stewart that they'll probably all use all 4 of those guys through in game 1 there. And all 4 of them could have a chance to appear after Justin Lampkin, who I think is going to start this game. Because Peary and Moss ended the game in relief, didn't throw too much, but I wouldn't count on seeing them. A&M is going to be the acting road team for game 3. Justin Lampkin's going to be the starting pitcher for them, sophomore left-hander. He's thrown twice in the College World Series already. He's had pretty good outings in both times against Florida. He faced Florida both times. I think that's notable because that Florida lineup, younger, more swing and miss prone than this Tennessee lineup, and Lampkin just racked up the strikeouts. And now in his 3 or 4 appearances in the NCAA tournament, he's got a 2.17 ERA in the NCAA tournament. He's been dealing lately. On the year, it's a 2-2 record, 5.73 ERA and like 15 starts, or 12 starts, 19 walks, 55 innings with a 2.74 Sierra. That Sierra is great, for the inning sample size that he's had, and compared to that standard ERA that he's stamped with. For Tennessee, it is going to be Xander Sechrist. The senior left-handed pitcher has been Tennessee's best starting pitcher for the final month of the year. He has a 1.23 ERA in his last 5 starts. He's 5-1 on the year, 3.22 ERA, 69 strikeouts, 15 walks, and 72.2 innings. He's been the most consistent arm for Tennessee in this weekend rotation from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. Honestly, in the beginning of the year, Vitello didn't really see him as a weekend rotation arm. Xander Sechrist earned his way into it and kept going. And he's an amazing personality, awesome to root for. Sechrist has been dealing lately. And obviously we know that Tennessee bullpen is going to be stocked and ready to go. The only one that I wouldn't count on seeing here is Aaron Combs. Before I get to how I plan on playing this, I got to make a little bit of money, pay the bills here around the college baseball experience, around the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Circus Sports is back. And with Circus Survivor and Circa Millions, they're giving away $16 million total in guaranteed prizes. Of course, Circa contests have no rake. Circa Millions pick 5 NFL. So in Circa Millions, pick 5 NFL teams against the spread each week and compete for $6 million or survive the NFL gauntlet to claim the $10 million prize. Sign up in person at Circus Sports between now and September 7th and use a proxy to play from anywhere. We even have a deal with footballcontestproxy.com to save you $50 with promo code SGP. If you don't have a trip booked for Las Vegas yet before the football season starts, the Ultimate Contest weekend is a great time to go hang out with Ryan Kramer, Sean Green, and enjoy some of the open bar events and the greatest sports book in the world. That will take place August 22nd through the 24th. Also, so the ad sheet's being edited as I'm going through. So we're also brought to you by Rhythm. The college baseball experience is brought to you by Rhythm. If you're betting on player props, then you need to download this app because it's the go-to sports betting tool that transforms complex data into actionable insights, empowering bettors with smarter data-driven decisions. Unlike other platforms, Rhythm combines advanced predictive analytics with an intuitive user experience, making betting both easy and enjoyable. Rhythm's predictive models were born from the brains of MIT data scientists and quants with over 3 years of data that help drive you to better AI-backed betting decisions. Rhythm projections have been red hot for WNBA and golf this spring. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. All right, now we're home free on the college baseball experience. This is the fun part. Let's get to how we're going to chop up this game. We've gone over some of the pitching matchups, and also we do have Underdog fantasy player projections out for the entire matchup that I'm gonna walk through and kind of give my thoughts. I'm gonna handicap those live because there's about 8 or 9 of them that I was like, I'm just gonna do this on the show. I think it'd be entertaining for some. Obviously, some don't have Underdog fantasy, but maybe you've got like a competitor out there that is also DFS player projection based, that you can put in some entries, or on some of these sports books we've seen some player props. So that should be fun conversation here to finish off the show. But let's dive into it. My favorite play here is the under 10.5. You can get this at BetMGM at -125 right now. That's the best spot you're going to find it. This is going to move. You've seen this be priced at -130, -136 is the highest that I've seen on the -10, -10.5, most places in the market. This is going to fall. No matter what the wind is, in my opinion, when you've got the arms that both teams have ready to go, like we've talked about it. Justin Lambkin's been great lately. Xander Sechrist has been tremendous all season. Tennessee has Kirby Connell, Nate Snead, uh, you know, the option to go to Causey. I don't think they will. They also have Andrew Banky. They have Dylan Loy. Those guys are all going to be ready to go. Those guys are all sub 4.35 ERA arms. And then on the A&M side, you have Justin Lampkin starting. They have the option to use Prager out of the pen for a short amount of time after only threw 81 pitches a day 2 days ago. Josh Stewart threw 55. Brad Rudis only threw 2 on Saturday. Evan Ashenbeck is going to see a bulk of the late inning at bats here in Game 3. There are going to be a lot of talented arms. I do know the lineups have been tremendous, but just from the fact that they didn't do a ton in Game 2, 7 hits apiece, only a 4-1 final score, that gives me a lot of confidence to take the under 10.5 in this matchup. That's my favorite pick going into this game. Let's handicap it further because I think Tennessee ends up winning. I really do. I think the biggest edge that Tennessee has is we don't know how legit Lampkin his two starts against Florida were per se. Because if you look at Lampkin throughout the finish, throughout the back half stretch of SEC play, constant good offense after good offense after good offense, he was getting lit up. And the Sierra is great. If you look under the hood, it's better than the traditional ERA. But I really do believe that we haven't seen this Tennessee offense at its best in the finals. And even though I don't think it's going to erupt for a couple of bulk inning outputs, I think that's your biggest edge in this matchup is early in the game, Tennessee's lineup puts up some runs. So give me the Tennessee first 5 money line. I think that's going to be a great play. I also think A&M first 5 team total under is a good angle because I think Sechrist is going to deal. I really do. There are quite a few lefties in that A&M lineup, and I really think that Sechrist has been throwing the ball great lately. So I think A&M first 5 team total under is great. I think the first 5 under is great. That one's probably third in this list of confidence, and fourth in this list of confidence. It's Tennessee first 5 run line. I just think like you'll see 2 or 3 runs from Tennessee. 0-1 from A&M through the first 5 is my prediction. You'll see like a 3-1 first 5 inning output between these two teams here. The biggest angle is Tennessee early. The biggest wild card is A&M late. If A&M is within a run going into the 7th inning, they are once again just going to hand the ball to Evan Ashenbeck and say, take us to the promised land, baby. Let's ride. And we saw what he did. Typically, I side with the guy or the team that has to make the most adjustments will come back and look better the second time around. But Ashenbeck was so dominant. 7 strikeouts of 8 of his outs in that first appearance in game 1. I it's hard to believe that he doesn't have a similar output. Sure, Tennessee's seen him once through the lineup now. They have an idea of what they're going to be up against. But I still don't think that's enough. I really don't think one look around is great. Hasty's going, Ashenbeck starting pitcher would be scary as fuck. But Schloss did confirm that we'll see Lampkin as the first arm here for A&M. And that's the other thing. Quick leash. Game 3, if anybody gets in trouble, there are so many arms for both of these teams. It'll be a quick leash. You see it in postseason baseball all the time. Why is that guy getting pulled right now? The starting pitcher's only got 26 pitches under his belt, and there's 2 runners on, but he hasn't allowed a run yet. Why are we going to the bullpen now? What are we doing? You're going to see that probably. If somebody's going to get in trouble, if there's going to be traffic on the bases, there's going to be a quick yank at some point. Whether it's a starting pitcher, whether it's a reliever, it's going to happen. That's just the nature of this game. So yeah, the last angle, the last play is if this thing is close entering the late innings, A&M at plus 170 to win this game is not the most far-fetched thing. I think this is a low-scoring game. Low-scoring game scripts favor the dog. I really think that if you get Ashenbeck on the mound, if you get Ryan Prager on the mound, Josh Stewart looked good too. Any of these guys in the late innings for A&M could be able to hold the thing down. And the Aggies could win this one if you talk about manufacturing runs. The A&M offense, the A&M outfield nerves me a little bit, but it hasn't come into play really against Tennessee in this series as much as Tennessee's infield defense did in game 1. A&M's offense has been able to manufacture the run without the long ball. Tennessee's offense really has been the long ball in this finals. I think that Tennessee, like, if you're getting a low scoring game in the late innings, A&M has the advantage of being able to scratch across a run in whatever way possible, especially with the shaky Tennessee defense and also Christian Moore getting removed in the ninth inning there for Ariel Antigua. That nerves me a little bit for the Tennessee side. So I do think Texas A&M money line is a good look as well. I think Tennessee early. I think Texas A&M late. You decide which side you want to be on. I'm just providing you the angles that I think are quality here for this game 3. I've said it. I think Tennessee wins this game. I think they put up enough runs early to not really have, your close-ish game going into the 7th, 8th inning. I think it's probably 4-1, 5-2, and Tennessee wins this thing. There's going to be some drama late, like there always is. This game, I think, is going to live up to the hype. I really do. I think it's going to be a lot of tense at bats throughout the majority of this game. But I think Sechrist in this bullpen of Tennessee is going to ultimately be able to get the job done for the Volunteers and Tony Vitello if he can keep his head on straight and not blow up and not get kicked out of this game. And some of the kids, if they don't do that either. And yeah, he's talking about Tennessee having so many chances here in game 2. They did in game 1 too. They've left so many runners on base in both games. That's what I'm talking about. Like the Tennessee offense is so close to erupting in this, and they haven't. So that's something to keep a note of going into game 3. Christian Moore, is he hurt? Question mark. I don't think he's hurt badly enough to come out. I think if it's on a scale of 0 to 10 and 7 being Jace Laviolette severe, it's a 5. I think it's a 5. Because Jace is playing through a pretty badly tweaked hamstring, it sounds like. Christian Moore, so he had the scare against Evansville where he only DH'd, and he tagged up in the late innings there from first to second base. And it looked like he hurt his hand, his arm, his shoulder, something there on his wing. But I do think he's going to be fine for this one. And it's not a one-man offense. You look up and down the Tennessee lineup. Dylan Dreiling has been outstanding in the College World Series, but you got Blake Burke, you have Kavaris Tears, Billy Amick is so due. If you want to talk about like scratching across your runs, Billy Amick, like guys do. But A&M's they've been hitting in this. You look at the game 1, everybody in the lineup except for Jace Laviolette had a hit, which is an outstanding stat. But let's jump in to finish off this episode. Sorry. To finish off this episode, I'm going to take you to the Underdog Fantasy player projections slate here for game 3, because when I checked an hour ago, there was plenty of options, and I was just like, let's go through this on the show. We'll give out some picks, some leans on each player. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 different dudes to talk about here. The two that I want to go into here are right off the bat, and it's at the top of the slate. It's the 2 starting pitchers. So let's do this. Justin Lampkin, his player projection is at 5 strikeouts. I'm going through. So I know he hit it. I know he went higher than 5 against Florida in the second game on Wednesday. He had 9 in game 2. He had 6 in the 3 innings against Florida. Gosh, I don't know what's going on though. So he's gone higher than 5 in 3 of his last 4 starts. Has not previously faced Tennessee this season. Oh, gosh, I've got a frog in my throat now. I don't know what the hell just happened. So he's cashed this in 3 of his last 4 outings. But overall throughout the season he hasn't had like tremendous length into the game. So like when I was talking about his finishing stretch in the SEC from March 30th to March 17th, which was the last which is the SEC tournament. He had 1 game where he went through and finished the 4th inning. Like you're not going to get 5 strikeouts often, only throwing 2 or 3 innings. Again, I think it's a quick leash, a short leash for Lampkin, and I don't think he's going to fare as well against Tennessee as he did Florida. So I think lower than 5 is a nice option there for Lampkin. Next up is Xander Sechrist. His player projection's at 4 strikeouts. And I'm talking about this last 5 game sample where he's been elite. We're going to go to that real quick because he went 6.1 against Florida State, only 3 strikeouts. Gosh, stop. Then Evansville, he had 6 strikeouts in 6.1. Southern Miss, he had 3 strikeouts in 4.2. 5 strikeouts against Vandy in 6 innings, 4 against South Carolina. He's been great lately, but he has not really gone over the 4Ks much this season. God, I don't know what the fuck just happened to my throat to finish off this show. We've got I'm pulling up the strikeout rate for A&M real quick. Just doing our due diligence on this. And we've got Texas A&M 58th in the country. So 58th highest strikeout rate in the country, 21.6% of the time. I would probably lean to the higher than 4 strikeouts for Sechrist, but definitely don't feel amazing about that angle there. Blake Burke is set at 2.5 total bases. And he went 0 for in game 2. 0 for 4 in game 2 with a walk. Pulling up his stat page real quick to kind of get a trend here because he is facing a left-handed pitcher. And he's one of the best hitters in the country. His splits aren't too drastic, but personally, if you don't have like the better like Dylan Dreiling has actually reverse splits against lefties. He's been money against left-handed pitchers this season. So I haven't been afraid to pull the trigger on a Dreiling, but for Burke, I am a little bit. So we're looking at total bases here, 2.5. He, in the College World Series here, has 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, 3-1. So he's 3-2 on this player projection, going higher than 2.5 total bases. So not really a strong trend in the recent games here in Omaha to play this. So I'm going to stay away from that. Hayden Schott. Jump over to him real quick. Shoddy is so his player projections 2.5 total bases as well. And in the College World Series, he has gone over this twice. And he is playing on the torn meniscus too. So he's hindered a little bit. It's 2 and 3 in the College World Series. Again, not a tremendously strong trend one way or another. And he's facing a left-handed pitcher again. We've got two lefties on the mound. Hayden Schott being the left-handed stick. Probably going to end up staying away from that one as well, to be honest. Dean Curley's next of Tennessee. We've got waiting for his team page to load up for some stats. So yeah, matchup should favor him a little bit. Right-handed hitter going into this. He's got two player projections: 2.5 hits, runs, and RBI, or just 1.5 total bases. Here in the College World Series, so in both games against A&M, he's gone higher than this, and that's the only two games. So he's 2-3 in the hits, runs, and RBIs player projection in the College World Series. In 1.5 total bases, he has gone over that. It looks like 3 times. So it's 3-2 there. Not tremendous trends there either. I'm going to check out his splits real quick from the regular season. Our good friends over at Friday Starters, not good friends. I don't have any standing relationship with them, but they do tremendous work over there. They haven't updated the splits sheet since the regular season ended, but it's still tremendous resource real quick for us. And I've used it for specifically for Underdog quite a bit here. So Curley against left-handed pitching, because you'll see Lampkin, you'll see possibly Prager, you'll see Ashenbeck for sure. 3 lefties that Tennessee is going to be facing in this game. He's batting .333 against lefties with a 1025 OPS. So this is notable for sure. I'll put that one on the short list. I do think I feel better about Lampkin's lower than strikeouts, but I would probably say Curley's higher than 2.5 hits, runs, and RBI. He's cashed that in the 2 games here against Texas A&M so far in the finals. Why not a third? Let's do Hunter Hensley now, who's been really good for Tennessee here. His player projections at 2.5 hits, runs, and RBI as well. And we've got here. So he's gone 1-1, 1-2, 1-3. So he's actually against this number 1-4 in Omaha. So that's not obviously not tremendous, but I was hoping to get a higher than land on a higher than for Hensley, because he himself against Lampkin might not have been a terrible matchup. Gavin Grahovic, he's been slumping recently here in Omaha. 2.5 hits, runs, and RBI for his projection here. He hit the home run the other day, but I think he's like 3 for 19 in the College World Series. It hasn't been great. So this might be a lower than lean for me here. 2.5 hits, runs, and RBI. We've got, he is in the College World Series 3-2 to the lower than there. So it wasn't as strong as his trend as I thought it was going to be. going a little bit further back, it's not a tremendously strong trend. And he is a right-handed bat going up against Sechrist, so it's probably not a play that I want to include in the entry. We do have the return of Jace Laviolette on the slate, but once again, I'm going to kind of skip over Jace just because he's kind of a big wild card. He hit the bomb, but I think if you don't hit it, if he doesn't hit it over the fence, I don't know if he's stretching it out into a double. I really don't. It would have to be a pretty big knock for him to do that. Jackson Appel sitting at total 2.5 total bases here. Shout out to him because he's the shout out to Cameron Kerr, by the way, graphics designer Cameron Kerr, Texas A&M grad. So he's been creating the thumbnails for me the entire season here on the College Baseball Experience. We threw Jackson Appel on the thumbnail here for Game 3. The switch hitter, 2.5 total bases, player projection here. And it's not been great in this College World Series. 1-1, 1-2, 2-2, 2-3 so far against this number in the College World Series. He splits wise. I'm curious on this. I don't know it by heart. Whether he's better left-handed or right-handed. Jackson Appel has a 939 OPS batting left-handed and a 1230 batting right-handed. So that is notable for sure. He'll be on the short list because, so better right-handed hitter than left. My guy, Teddy Burton for Texas A&M. Player projections at 1.5 total bases. For him, right-handed hitter, notable, going up against the left-handed starter. We've got he is not so he has not cashed he's cashed this once in the College World Series. So not great. 1-4. But he does crush left-handed pitching. So I'm gonna stay off of that. We've got Ali Camarillo, who unfortunately made one of his only very few errors this season. Unfortunately, made one in Game 2, a throwing error, or at least it was recorded on him. His player projections 1.5 total bases as well. We're sitting at trend-wise. He's another right-handed hitter for what it's worth. 0-1, 0-2, 1-2, 2-2. So 2-3 in the College World Series in the 5 games here. Caden Kent, and I mean he's a left-handed hitter, but he's been raking against everybody. And the big reason for that has been because there's just not as big of a scouting report against the kid because he didn't play too much during the regular season. So, and in Game 2 here, he didn't have like a huge performance, but he did go 1-for-4. So he slowed down a little bit in the production, but we're sitting at 2.5 total bases for Caden Kent. He missed it in Game 2, but he cashed in Game 1 against Florida. He crushed it. Kentucky, he had 2 singles, and Florida, he had a bomb. So, I mean, he's 3-2 in the College World Series, but when he goes over, he crushes that number. Caden Sorrell is interesting. He's, again, a left-handed hitter. What's his numbers against lefties? Sorrell against left-handed pitching is 910, so it's still pretty good. Sorrell's probably a guy that I'm going to end up playing here because his numbers have been great in the College World Series and just in the postseason in general. Been one of the better hitters for A&M here this postseason stretch. We're sitting at 1.5 total bases for Sorrell. That's kind of It seems low to me. He had 2 singles here in the game 2. He had 2 singles in game 1, so 2-0. He had a home run against Florida, so 3-0. The only game he did not cash in the College World Series was Kentucky, but he's been raking throughout the postseason. I think it's 1-1, 2-1, 2-2, 3-2, 4-2, 4-3, 7-4 in the postseason here in their 11 games, last 11. So I like that higher than 1.5 total bases on Caden Sorrell. But we need a Tennessee guy. And Cal Stark is not going to be him at 1.5 total bases. So my Tennessee guy in this play is going to be, should it be Dean Curley? We were pretty positive about him, right? Going back real quick, because I don't remember it off the top of my head when I ran through it just a couple of minutes ago. Curley has 2 of them for what it's worth. 2.5 hits, runs, and RBI, and 1.5 total bases. Yeah, so the hits, runs, and RBI here in Omaha, he has had 2, only 1, but then 3 and 3. So he's 2 and 3 against that, but so it was total bases. Total bases wise, he is 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 3-1, 3. So he's cashed in 3 straight. It's 3-2 in the College World Series. But going back to game 3 of Evansville, he had a home run. So that's probably the play there for Tennessee's side of things, is the Dean Curley, higher than 1.5 total bases. So that's going to be the underdog. The underdog entry here. Lower than 5 strikeouts on Justin Lampkin, higher than 1.5 total bases for Dean Curley, and higher than 1.5 total bases for Caden Sorrell. Favorite play, Caden Sorrell. I feel pretty good about Lampkin not throwing deep into this one, so I like the lower than strikeouts there. Brandon says, and for what it's worth, Dean Curley just needed to be in this one so we could play a strictly only College World Series entry. So I'd list him as third in confidence wise, but higher than 1.5 total bases has been a good trend. And he's done pretty well against left-handed pitching this season. So once again, going to pull that number up real quick. Curley is hitting 1025 OPS, 333 batting average against left-handed pitching. And he'll see Prager, Aschenbeck, Lampkin for sure. Not really Prager for sure, but Lampkin for sure, and Evan Aschenbeck for sure. So that's the 3. Justin Lampkin, lower than 5 strikeouts. Dean Curley, higher than 1.5 total bases. Caden Sorrell, higher than 1.5 total bases. We'll hit the chat up real quick, and then we'll get out of here. Thank you all for staying with me throughout the duration of this episode. If you're still around, hope you enjoyed that Underdog Fantasy portion of the show. Tanik Caesar, Tennessee fan, he said Christian Morris had a bad slide that roughed him up a little bit, but should be 100% tomorrow, he says. Ryan Hasty says, what is the wind/weather forecast for tomorrow? Let's go pull it up. Let's do that. We'll finish the show on that. Because honestly, I'm not taking that into account really for my handicap at all. I really don't think it matters too much in this one. I think the pitching is going to be good enough to hold the offenses down. I'm sharing my screen here on the wind finder. All right. Do we got that loaded up? We do. All right. So youtube.com/the college experience, I believe. We are now in the city of Omaha going through looking for the stadium. I've never been in person, so this could be an adventure, but there we go. We found it. The wind. So this is Sunday. Monday we're looking at 6 p.m. game time. We've got wind pretty strong in. So this should I mean, I don't know why I didn't look at the wind. I just trusted my gut on just it would be under, but that looks pretty strong to me. We've got pretty strong wind gusts blowing in from right field to the third baseline at first pitch, 1 hour into the game. Pretty much the same. 2 hours in, pretty much the same. 9 p.m., pretty much the same. So yeah, stiff wind blowing in real quick. We'll see how stiff it actually is. Monday, 7 p.m., 11-mile-an-hour winds blowing in from right field there. So it's not tremendously hard, but it should be enough to impact the game a little bit. 10 under 10 and a half. My favorite play going into this game 3 of the Men's College World Series. We'll run through those real quick after we spent the 10 to 15 minutes on Underdog Fantasy. Under 10 and a half. Favorite play here for game 3. I do think Tennessee has the biggest edge in this one. I don't have trust or full faith in Lampkin pitching deep into this one, and I favor him to kind of get in trouble more than Sechrist. So Tennessee first 5 money line if it's reasonable, but you could go first 5 run line on the Vols. I also would really like a Texas A&M first 5 team total under with the way that Xander Sechrist has been pitching lately. That's a look that I'm going to have. First 5 under in general. I like that too with Sechrist and Lampkin's pitched all right here in the College World Series. And if he gets in trouble, it's just going to be a short leash. They'll go to Josh Stewart, a Ryan Prager, a Brad Rudis. They probably wouldn't go to Ashenbeck in the first 5, but that's what you'll see for a first 5 under, which I'm going to really like. The full game is where it gets interesting because I said this earlier. If it's close, Ashenbeck's the wild card, and Texas A&M could scratch across a run. I talked about it earlier. I trust them in just being able to manufacture runs a little bit better than Tennessee, who's just been relying on the long ball in the finals. I know that's not been the offense throughout the entire season, but it's just what it's been so far here in the finals against this really good A&M pitching staff. So Texas A&M money line plus 170. You'll find that at DraftKings, BetRivers, MGM. That's your best price there. The under 10.5 minus 125 only exists at BetMGM. Get that right now because other places on the market minus 130, minus 136. I've seen it as the highest on the under 10.5. That's going to move, especially when public finds out about the wind. It'll get cut down to 9.5 is my prediction here that it closes, maybe even 9, but I think it closes at 9.5. Thank you all for spending the entire season of the college baseball season with me here on the College Baseball Experience. I've really enjoyed it once again. Year 3 for me, doing daily episodes throughout the conference tournament. Also, being here pretty much every day throughout the postseason and the NCAA tournament. The only days that I've skipped out the last 3 years now have been the finals, just because you can kind of predict how the first 2 matchups are going to go based on starting pitchers and some of the bullpen availability that you'll know off the top of your head. Game 3 is where it gets interesting. Last year, we had 2 blowouts in game 1 and game 2, so you kind of knew what was going to happen in game 3. And then 2 years ago, we had a 2-game final between Ole Miss and Oklahoma. This year, I'm hoping and praying that it lives up to the billing, because if it does, I think it's going to be one of the best just individual games in the finals of the last decade. Really do. I say last decade just so I'm not like the hot take artist, but these 2 teams, the way the pitching lines up for this one, possibly, it should be an amazing one. I'll be here recapping it doing my best attempt to do it. It's not my strongest skill in recapping games on the mic, but I'll be here. I appreciate everybody sticking around for the entire episode. We had one game, but we went an hour long. I do appreciate it. Follow me on Twitter at NoahB77 for any updates on plays. Also, the article that I'll be posting coming out tomorrow. I'll be doing a Underdog fantasy video for tomorrow. So Twitter is the best place you can find me. NoahB77 _ I appreciate it. All you guys sticking around here live. Over 280 of you guys tuned in on all platforms. Currently over 30 of you guys for the rest of the show here, or the finality of this Game 3 picks and preview show. I do appreciate it a lot. You guys mean the world. You allow us to do this kind of for a living. I do appreciate that a ton. I other than appreciate, I don't know what else to say. My vocabulary escapes me when it comes to gratitude, but you guys mean a lot. So without further ado, that's going to conclude the show. I'm rambling to finish like I always do. The wheels are falling off at the end like always, but you've been listening. You've been experiencing the better side of the college baseball experience with the college baseball. I fucked it up in one of the last shows. You've been experiencing the better side of college baseball with the college baseball experience. Adios, amigos.